in the archaeological work that Smithsonian scientists do here in Panama, they can date the arrival of the first indigenous people to the Isthmus of Panama 11,000 years ago. And they usually settled near the coast where they could have access to lots of shells, fishes, shrimps. And so the first villages arose very close to the seashore, and very early on they learned how to catch fish, dry it, salt it, and then trade it with the Indians who lived further inland. Also 11,000 years ago, very early on, the Indians learned how to cultivate manioc, which is a very important root crop. The Indian people of Panama are excellent cultivators of root crop like manioc and yams, and they're crops which grow very well under the canopy of the trees. They don't need that much care, and they are accessible year-round. So when you come to Panama, one of the things you have to do, you order a sancocho, which is a Panamanian chicken soup, and then they'll put this root crops in the soup. You'll like them. For the Nobe people of Panama, and for all the Indian people of Panama, corn is the most important crop. And then comes rice, and then the root crops. But corn is just such an important food crop, and rice. And they are prepared in different fashions. They're stored very carefully. The seeds are also very set apart for planting in the month of May with the first rains. And so Panamanian cooking, including by the indigenous communities or the black communities, is very diverse. So you can order different kinds of tortillas. You can have rice in different fashions. For example, in the Caribbean side of Panama, it's very common amongst the black communities and the Indian communities to use rice and coconut. And it's an excellent dish, especially with fried fish.
You talked about fish before, Stanley, and you mentioned salting them. Why would you put salt on fish?
For thousands of years, we didn't have electricity. And the only way you can store fish nowadays is by freezing it, or putting it in a fridge, or a cooler. But for thousands of years, we didn't have that. So how are you going to preserve fish during the very wet, rainy season? You have to dry it, and you have to salt it to preserve it. Or you can barbecue it. And it was very common, still today, among the Indian communities of Panama and the peasant communities, to dry the fish, salt it, and then put it on top of your oven. And since a lot of people use firewood, the smoke from your cooking earth then will dry your fish. Well, the Kuna students, like students everywhere in the world, they start school in May. If they're in elementary school, they take about 14 different subjects, including Spanish, of course. And then when they finish high school, the Kuna students usually have to leave their villages because there are no universities or colleges in the Indian territories of Panama. So the Kuna children have to migrate to Panama City on the Pacific or to Colon in the Caribbean to go to college. And the Kuna people are very motivated by education. They want their kids to go to college. So families would migrate to the urban areas of Panama so their children can go to college. There is a very high percentage of Kuna kids in the universities and the colleges in Panama. Perhaps the Kunas are, of all the indigenous people of Latin America, have the highest number of college graduates. Oh, there are many. We need English teachers. We need volunteers to come to Panama and teach English to kids in the rural areas. You can go, I think we need people who would like to be nature guides. We need people who know about computers. Would you like to teach computing to kids your age in the countryside? I wonder if you like to volunteer. We have schools here who would be able to take you. Maybe some of you would like to teach carpentry. I mean, there are so many ways of being very useful to humanity. You can go to communities which definitely do not have the level of comfort you have, and the people will be willing to receive you, you know, with open arms. And there are institutions that work in those communities that can give you lodging. And for example, I am in the board of a school that is in the Darien region, and we have children from the Embera communities, the Kuna communities, the black communities, the mestizo peasant communities, and it's an elementary and secondary school in the Darien near the border with Colombia. And we're trying to teach there, together with the curriculum, is how can we use the forest without destroying it, which is one of the great challenges of the 21st century. We have to keep our forests alive to keep us alive, but how can we do that? How can we improve the livelihood of the poor people who live in the forest without destroying this marvelous gift we have, which is the tropical rainforest?
I was talking to some people from Costa Rica and from Honduras, and they said they were very sorry because their country had destroyed quite a bit of their forests. And, well, they did it for farming, but now it's hard to get their forest back. Once it's gone, it seems to be gone, well, maybe forever. In Panama, I think we were saying 50% of the country is still forested? Is it that much?
In Panama, about 40% of the country is still covered by forest, and most of the forests are in the Caribbean side. Most of the forests in the Pacific side of the isthmus have been cut down, first by slash and burn agriculture, and then by seeding pastures for rearing cattle. And so Panama's surviving forests are in the Caribbean, and a lot of the surviving forests of Panama are in the territories of the Indian communities. So in the future, what the indigenous people of Panama will do or will not do about the forest, so will go the destiny and the future of the tropical forests of Panama. So it is absolutely crucial that the indigenous people of Panama can improve their livelihood, but using the forest wisely.